we just covered the quarter note and the eighth note. Reviewing real quick, at 100 beats per minute, at about 600 milliseconds, the quarter note sounds like this. An eighth note delay sounds like this. And now we're going to cover the dotted eighth. The dotted eighth is one of the most popular delay settings that the Edge uses in songs such as Bad, All I Want Is You, Streets. Most, maybe a majority, haven't counted them, use the dotted eighth note. The dotted eighth note's great because it is not in, if you're playing in 4/4 time, and that's 100 beats per minute, so if you're playing a note approximately, or a beat every 600 milliseconds, what's great about the dotted eighth in 4/4 time is it fills in not on the main beat or on the eighth note beat, the one or the and, or the two or the and. It comes in, but just after the one and. So it is approximately 3/4 of a beat. It is one and not the two. It's one and a half. So it is 450 milliseconds if you're at 100 BPM. So the dotted eighth, if the quarter sounds like this, and the eighth note sounds like this, the dotted eighth sounds like this. So it's a little slower than the eighth, it's a little faster than the quarter, but it lands on not the one and or the two, it's right in between. So let's try to show you, if we get on tempo, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I might have actually got a little off tempo there. Let's just try that one more time again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2. A little hard to hear, but at the end of the day, that is not the delay is not landing on a one or a and or a two. It's right in between the and the two, or the two and the and. So it is a great kind of filler delay, and it's used quite often. Here's something that's really important. If you're playing at 100 beats per minute, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, like before, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and if I bring in, let's keep it simple and do the eighth note so you can hear it's right in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If I'm playing at 100 beats per minute, then that eighth note is 300 milliseconds. It will be in between what I'm playing if I'm playing quarter notes. If I double up and now play at 200 beats a minute, here's what happens. So let's start off at 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So I doubled up there and I started playing at 200 beats per minute. But my delay was set still at 300 milliseconds. So you have to keep everything, there has to be a relative base of where you're starting. I have my delay set at an eighth note. But an eighth note only is meaningful as it relates to the beats per minute, and 300 milliseconds. So if you have 100 beats per minute, then the eighth note is 300 milliseconds. But as soon as I changed it up and went to 200 beats per minute, 300 milliseconds is actually now a quarter note. So when I, let me do that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, I was playing, each quarter note is 100 beats per minute, and the delay of an eighth note at 300 milliseconds landed on the and. But if I play at twice the speed, 1 and 2 and 3, then I'm on top of the delay. So the delay is no longer an eighth note. That's important to understand, is now that I'm playing at 200 beats per minute, that eighth note is actually a quarter note, because now at 200 beats per minute, a quarter note is actually 300 milliseconds. So 300 milliseconds changes and is different And by the way, this is my golden retriever, Mila, who decided to interrupt the taping, so I think I'll keep this in because she's much more interesting. And maybe she'll help me out here a little bit. What I'm again trying to point out is the relative relationship between the beats per minute, the note, and the milliseconds. You can't just take a song and say, oh, hey, bad, that should be set at 450 milliseconds. Well, it's 450 milliseconds if you play at 100 beats per minute. If you're going to play too slow or if you're going to play too fast, then the delay will be meaningless. Let me use this as a simple example. If we play on tempo here and we want eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and... I played the correct 100 beats per minute and I got an eighth note because the eighth note landed in between the beat there, as you heard. But if I play too slow, the eighth note there, it was not an eighth note because it didn't land right in the middle of each quarter note. If I play too fast, can't really hear it because I'm going over it anyway, but if you go too fast, then I might actually hit this twice before the eighth note delay. So the delay won't fall in the right place in the song and you won't get the right rhythm or what they call the right groove.